Assalamu alaikum and welcome back once again to Today in African History with Baba Shaka. I'm Baba Shaka and today is March 11th, 2021. 11 days into Women's History Month where we honor the achievements and contributions of the women of our history. Of course, our history is much too long and much too vast to cover all of the great women in our story. Today we are, inshallah, going to go back about 600 years and take a look at a woman who left a mark on African history in general and on Nigeria in particular. Northern Nigeria, to be more exact. Amina of Zaria, who lived between 1533 and 1610, was commonly known as the Warrior Queen, and she expanded the territory of the Hausa people of North Africa to the largest borders in their history. More than 400 years later, the legend of her persona became the model for a television series about a fictional warrior princess called Zina. Amina was the first warrior queen of Zazzau, which is now called Zaria. She is known also as Amina Sarainia Zazzau. She lived approximately 200 years prior to the establishment of the Sokoto Caliphate Federation that governed Nigeria during the period of British colonial rule following the Islamic Jihad that overtook the region in the 19th century. According to most accounts, Queen Amina ruled for 34 years at the turn of the 16th and 17th century. Her domain of Zazzau, a city-state of Hausa land, was eventually renamed Zaria and is the capital of the present-day Emirate of Kaduna in Nigeria. Although many details of her life remain largely in dispute among the historians, the fact that she existed is a matter of general acceptance, and she is presumed to have been a Muslim ruler. Much of what is known of Queen Amina is based on information related in the Kano Chronicles, a translation by Muhammad Bello of the pre-colonial African tradition based in part on anonymous Hausa writings. Other details were pulled from oral traditions of Nigeria. As a result, the memory of Queen Amina assumed legendary proportions in her native Hausa land and beyond. The extent of her military prowess and her performance in battle was augmented by lore and remains a little unclear. The reign of Amina occurred at a time when the city-state of Zazzau was situated at the crossroads of three major trade corridors in northern Africa, connecting the region of the Sahara with the remote markets of the southern forest lands and the western Sudan. It was the rise and fall of the powerful and more dominant Songhai people and the resultant competition for control of trade routes that incited continual warring among the Hausa people and neighboring settlements during the 15th and 16th centuries. It was not until later that a ruling arrangement between the Hausa and Fulani people ultimately brought a lasting peace to the region and survived into the colonial era of the 19th century. Amina was the 24th Habe, as the rulers of Zazzau were called. She is believed to have been the granddaughter of King Zazzau Nohir. Speculation suggests that she was born sometime during his reign around 1533. This theory lends credence to the belief that Amina ruled Zazzau at the end of the 16th century. The citizens of Hausa land at that time displayed advanced skills in the industrial arts of tanning, weaving, and metalworking, in contrast to the inhabitants of the neighboring territories and surrounding cultures where agriculture remained the dominant activity. The Hausa social hierarchy, as a result, was bound less rigidly to the social standards of traditions, which were based on hereditary factors. Amina was born the eldest of three royal siblings. She was 16-year old when her noble parent, the powerful Bakwa of Turanku, or some say the Bakwa of Turanda, inherited the throne of Zazzau. Historical accounts of Bakwa, the 22nd Habe of Zazzau, vary as to whether Bakwa was Amina's father or mother. Although the reign of Bakwa was known for peace and prosperity, the history of the Hausa people was nonetheless characterized by military campaigns for the purpose of increasing commerce. During the years between 1200 and 1700, Hausa land was, in fact, fraught with warring parties. These descended into neighboring territories that were inhabited by the Jukon and the Nupe to the south. In an effort to control trade and to expand Hausa communities into more desirable environs. The Hausa, in turn, were conquered intermittently during these years by various other peoples. The Mali, the Fulani, and the Bornu were among the aggressors in these clashes. During the reign of Bakwa, the teenage Amina occupied herself in honing her battle skills under the guidance of the soldiers of the Zazzau military. As was the custom of the regions, the rule of Zazzau fell to Amina's brother Karama upon the death of Bakwa in 1566. Although Karama was the younger of the two, it was the male heir who took precedence in ascending the throne. The third sibling, a sister named Zaria, eventually left the region. By the time that Amina assumed the throne following the death of her brother in the 10th year of his rule, she had matured into a fierce warrior and had earned the respect of the Zazzau military. Amina, in fact, established her dominance as the head of the Zazzau cavalry even before she came to rule the city-state. Within 3 months of inheriting the throne, Queen Amina embarked on what was to be the first of an ongoing series of military engagements associated with her rule. She stood in command of an immense military band and personally led the cavalry of Zazzau through an ongoing series of campaigns, waging battles continually throughout the course of her sovereignty. She spent the duration of her 34-year reign in military aggression. Although the military campaigns of Amina were characterized as efforts to ensure safe passage for Zazzau and other Hausa traders throughout the Saharan regions, the practice proved effective in significantly expanding the limits of Zazzau territory to the largest boundaries before and since. African chronicler P.J.M. McEwen quoted the Kano Chronicles, which stated that Amina, quote, conquered all the towns as far as Kwarafa to the north and Nupe to the south, unquote. According to all indications, she came to dominate much of the regions known as Hausa land and beyond, throughout an area called Kasashen Bauchi. Houses of Kano in the mid 1600s, Kasashen Bauchi in the modern terms comprises the middle belt of Nigeria. In addition to Zazzau, the city-states of central Hausa land included Rano, Kano, Daura, Gobir, and Katsina. At one time, Amina dominated the entire area along with the associated trade routes connecting the Western Sudan with Egypt on the east and Mali in the north. In keeping with the customs of the time, she collected tributes of kola nuts and male slaves from her subject cities. Although, also as part of the customs, the Hausa people, Amina built walls surrounding the encampments of the territories that she conquered. Some of the walls survive into modern times, thus, her legacy remained entrenched in both the culture and the landscape of the native Hausa city states. Some have suggested that a neighboring Hausa king named Sarkin Kanajeji held Amina at a serious disadvantage in waging battle against his army because Kanajeji's soldiers wore iron helmets for protection. Others, however, have credited Amina with the introduction of metal armor, including the iron helmet and chainmail. It has been further suggested that she was responsible for the introduction of the new armor to the Hausa city-state of Kano. Regardless of its origins, the innovation of protective armor arrived in Hausa land during the era of Amina. Because the House of Zaza were well skilled in metalworking crafts, it is not unreasonable to infer that Amina's army was well protected by body armor. Some historians have credited Amina with originating the Hausa practice of building the military encampments behind fortress walls. A 15-kilometer wall surrounding the modern day city of Zaria dates back to Amina and is known as Ganuwar Amina, or translated Amina's Wall. Additionally, a distinctive series of walls wind throughout the countryside in the vicinities of the ancient city-states of Hausa land. These came to be called Amina's walls to the rest of the world, although not all of those walls were built during the reign of Amina. Information about the history of Hausa land during the era of Amina is a bit sketchy. Foreign visitors who traveled to Africa during the 18th and 19th centuries collected many of the historical accounts of those times. Other informations were garnered from the oral traditions of the descendants of the early Hausa people. Historians J.F. Ajayi and Michael Crowder suggested that Amina lived in the 15th century rather than the 16th century. Ajayi and Crowder attribute their conclusions to information found in Bello's Chronicles. The chronicles, which are believed to portray the history of Africa with some accuracy, date Amina back to the time of Sarki, which is the name for king. So Sarki Dauda or King Dauda, whose father was believed to have ruled from 1421 until 1438. In this regard, there may be some confusions with the reign of Daud, conqueror of Messina, who ruled from 1549 until 1582. Ajayi suggested that Hausa land suffered desperately from severe aggression from Songhai to the west during the 16th century, and it may be unlikely that the expansionist policies of Amina prevailed at such a difficult time. Likewise, reports that Amina collected tributes from Borno may be improbable in the context of the 16th century, as Zaria and many other Hausa city-states had by that time fallen to the control of Songhai and had suffered under aggression from Borno to the east. Such domination by Songhai and Borno, if depicted with accuracy, preclude the possibility that the Hausa achieved extensive domination during the reign of Amina, if indeed she lived at the end of the 16th century. The dearth of facts combined with the significance of the conquest of Amina have defined a legendary persona for the warrior queen of Nigeria. According to oral traditions, Amina took a new husband from the legions of vanquished foes after every battle. After spending one night with the Zazzau queen, each man was slain. Additionally, it is common belief that Amina died during a military campaign at Atagara near Bida in Nigeria. In the 20th century, the memory of Amina came to represent the spirit and strength of womanhood. For her exploits, she earned the epithet of Amina Yarbakwa Tasanrana, which translates to Amina, daughter of Nikatau, a woman as capable as a man. So, whenever or if ever you're in northern Nigeria, try to check out Amina's walls. Sit down with the folks and get some details, more details about this great queen. There's a lot about Queen Amina to be learned, so go and check her out. For those of you who've already subscribed, thank you for helping us to keep going. For those of you who would like to support this project, please hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. Please like and comment, but most importantly, please share, especially with the young amongst us. So, inshallah, until tomorrow, I'm Baba Shaka with Today in African History. Masalam.